Hello everybody, today I'm gonna show you a DD15 engine that is consuming coolant. This is a 2012 Freightliner Cascadia. The reason why we need to inspect for the coolant consumption is because the driver claims that he has to add coolant every 1,000 miles. So the first thing we need to do to inspect for a coolant consumption is to look for leaks around the engine, around the body. Inspect all the lines, all the hoses for coolant leaks. If you don't see any coolant leaks on the hoses, inspect the floor where the vehicle is parked. If you don't see any leak around it, that means then the coolant is being burned by the engine. If there is no leak, that means then the engine is eating the coolant. Now we're gonna inspect the engine for coolant. The first thing we need to do is to open the oil cap. Open the oil cap and inspect the cap for coolant. If there is no coolant sign on the oil cap, remove the oil gauge and inspect the oil condition, and you don't see any coolant marks on the oil, that means then the coolant is being injected directly to the combustion chamber. So now then we know that the engine is the cause of your coolant consumption. We need to inspect the engine condition. So there are two reasons why this coolant can be consumed for the engine. One of the causes could be a faulty engine, a faulty cylinder head, a faulty cylinder gasket, and the other reason is a bad EGR cooler. That's where we're going to start. We're going to inspect the EGR cooler first before disassembling the engine for coolant leaks. On the left side, on the driver's side, this is the EGR cooler injection pipe to the intake manifold. So we're gonna remove this pipe to actually see if we can see any coolant coming from this side to the intake. Now with the pipe removed, we can see inside here and we can see coolant. There is coolant there, so that means that the coolant is coming from the EGR cooler. Now we need to visually inspect the EGR cooler from the inside. To have access to the EGR cooler interior, we need to remove this elbow pipe, then connects the EGR to the EGR cooler. Then the pipe is removed, it's time to check for the coolant inside the EGR cooler. Now you clearly can see the coolant inside the EGR cooler. That means that this EGR cooler needs to be replaced. I'm going to make another video to how to replace the EGR cooler on a DD15 engine. So up today, that's all I'm going to show you. So now you know what to do if you have coolant consumption on your DD15 engine. As I say, the first thing you need to do is to inspect coolant leaks on your engine and your cap. If you don't have any coolant leaks, you need to inspect the oil condition to see if there is any coolant leakage inside the engine. If that is not the case, inspect the EGR cooler before working on the engine, because the EGR cooler is one of the main reasons why the engine eats coolant.